Nintendo has announced that the next entry in the Mario Kart series, Mario Kart Tour, will be coming to mobile devices in September of this year. But with this game coming out, where does that leave mainline Mario Kart games going forward? It's pretty safe to assume that Mario Kart Tour will be fundamentally different from the core Mario Kart titles in several ways. That's just generally how mobile games work, especially considering Nintendo's track record of transitioning series over to the mobile format. So for people who are wondering about the next big innovation in the mainline Mario Kart experience, what's next? The last new mainline Mario Kart game was released in 2014, being Mario Kart 8, the game then 3 years later being now known as Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. And this enhanced version of the game now sits number 1 on the top best-selling game charts for the Nintendo Switch. The game has sold nearly 17 million units, which is absolutely insane for the second release of pretty much the same game. But knowing all this information, how does that lead us into what's next for the series? I'm about to get into that right now. But first, if you're new here, consider subscribing and clicking the bell icon so that you don't miss any new Mario Kart videos when I release them. And with that being said, let's get started. I think it's very important before we get into the next mainline Mario Kart title to start wondering about what Mario Kart Tour will be. I've speculated in a previous video about what new features will be included in Mario Kart Tour, and I think that a simple takeaway from that could be that the game will sort of be like the regular Mario Kart formula in terms of gameplay, but not exactly. As I mentioned at the top of this video, there are probably going to be some changes, obviously required with the transition to a mobile platform. But even if the gameplay isn't the greatest, I still think there's a massive prospect for success with this game, and here's why. Look at what Pokemon Go did for the Pokemon series. This game absolutely exploded and took over the world, leading to greater sales for Pokemon Sun and Moon and the 7th generation Pokemon games, and it also led to great sales for Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee. This success could have likely been replicated with the release of Super Mario Run, but I think a lot of you are informed about how that didn't turn out so well. The general consensus is that one of the main reasons for why Super Mario Run didn't perform as well as it was expected to is because it didn't rely on the typical microtransaction free download format that mobile games usually use and are successful with. I know not everybody loves microtransactions, and personally I'm not the biggest fan of them either, but for mobile games on that platform, customers are used to having a free download format where they get to just download the game and experience it, and then if they want to get something done faster, for example, or get this exclusive perk, then they could go out and purchase those items through in-app microtransactions, and that's where the company makes money. That's how Pokemon Go did it, that's how Fire Emblem Heroes did it for Nintendo, and they're pretty successful with that game as well. But Mario Run didn't do that. It had a free download for 3 levels, and then you would have to pay a certain amount of money in order to experience the rest of the game. And that's really not something that people are interested in. When releasing a mobile game, you're going to have a section of people who will only want to have a free-to-play experience, and then you're going to have another section of people who are willing to pay for something to play. But that massive section of people who only want to play the game entirely for free are not going to download a game that has a paywall in front of it, and therefore you're missing out on a large portion of the audience and negating them through this business idea. So my entire point out of all of this is that if Nintendo learns from their mistakes with Mario Run and carries over the microtransaction format to Mario Kart Tour, I think there is a massive prospect for success for it. And we're even seeing recently with the success of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe on the Nintendo Switch that people love their Mario Kart. Mario Kart Wii also sold insanely well, and of course that's likely due to the Wii being an incredibly successful console. But there's also another reason for why Mario Kart games sell this well. Mario Kart is such an easily accessible game series to people who aren't really into video games. And I know that you and I are probably a lot more into video games than the people that we're talking about here, but they are very important in generating this massive success for the game. Targeting core gamers will only get you so far unless you bring new people in to become core gamers. But for the people who aren't necessarily part of that demographic, you're going to have to target them in some different ways. And one of these ways is having a console that's extremely successful that everybody owned, like the Wii was, and a very similar way to do that is to put it on a mobile platform, because this is another platform that many people have. And once this game is on the platform, you design the game in a way that it's accessible for everybody, sort of an easy to learn, hard to master form of gameplay. I know not everybody likes motion controls in Mario Kart games, I personally don't use them, but for Mario Kart Wii, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and presumably Mario Kart Tour with tilting the phone, you're able to use motion controls when playing the games, and for a lot of people who don't want to learn button inputs and stuff like that, it's a much easier and more natural form of controlling the gameplay. So after going over all of that, it's safe to assume that Mario Kart Tour will probably be a big success if it's marketed right, released in the right format, the microtransaction way, and has gameplay that's easy to learn, hard to master, that could bring a lot of people in who aren't really hardcore gamers. So where do you go from here? After this release from Mario Kart Tour, what's next for Mario Kart? Well, I think there's going to be two possibilities. The first possibility that I want to go over is a possible update and some new content being added into Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. With the prospect of Mario Kart Tour being a massive success, you're probably going to want to have some connectivity between this mobile game and your mainline Mario Kart game that's currently out. And let's say Nintendo doesn't want to release a new one, which I'll get into that possibility in a little bit, and they just want to stick to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and who could really blame them? Mario Kart 8 Deluxe has sold insanely well. As I mentioned, #1 best-selling game on the Switch, then an update would have to be added in order to provide the ability to communicate between the mobile game and the main game. In terms of what this connection could be, I think it's better off to wait until Mario Kart Tour comes out to talk about that. There's the possibility that you could have racing between the mobile game and the mainline game, but until we know exactly what the gameplay style of Mario Kart Tour is, I'm not just going to suggest that that's going to be a likely idea to happen. But if Nintendo was going to update the game to include stuff supporting Mario Kart Tour, you would think they would want to add some more stuff into this game. Potentially paid DLC could be added into Mario Kart 8 Deluxe as a future step for Mario Kart going forward, with additions such as new cups, new characters, and other things that people would really be interested in. Nintendo as a company really wants to make money. This is why they continually release new games with the series that we've come to enjoy, because they think people will buy them. And they have this incredibly well-selling game on the Nintendo Switch being Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, so if you're Nintendo, when you want to put out some downloadable content for it, some optional content that people who are really into the game probably want to buy, it is definitely a possibility that Nintendo updates Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. But now I'm going to get into some reasons for why this possibility might not happen. First of all, the entire downloadable content aspect being added into Mario Kart 8 Deluxe would kind of defeat the purpose of it being a deluxe edition, wouldn't it? I mean, isn't one of the big selling points of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe being that you could get all of the DLC from Mario Kart 8 plus more content added in when you buy this version, and then adding more content for you to purchase on top of that would sort of defeat the purpose. Another argument against us getting DLC and a big update like this, including Mario Kart Tour stuff in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, is because the game has been out for over 2 years now. This is one of my arguments to people who are suggesting that Odyssey DLC could be a very likely thing. The game has been out for a while now. Don't you think that Nintendo would like to focus on more new stuff in the future, rather than updating software that they already have out? Those are just some ideas that I had for the first possibility, but I want to get into the second one now. This is probably the more exciting one. This is the idea of Mario Kart 9. If you think about this idea and adding content to it that would connect with Mario Kart Tour, as well as some of the new content that I was talking about, like new cups and new characters, it would probably make a lot more sense to release a brand new Mario Kart game on the Nintendo Switch in order to do that. And if you look at release patterns from the past, they may be lining up for this exact thing to happen. The time gap between the releases of Mario Kart 64 and Mario Kart Double Dash was 7 years. The time gap of release between Double Dash and Mario Kart Wii was 5 years. And the time gap between the release of Mario Kart Wii and Mario Kart 8 was 6 years. And you know how long the time gap is between the release of the original Mario Kart 8 and 2020? Yeah, 6 years, the average amount of time that the latest home console Mario Kart games have had between their releases. So that would all line up for a 2020 release of a Mario Kart 9. But how could Nintendo really innovate with this sort of idea? And Nintendo normally innovates with their new games anyway, but one of the big reasons why I believe they would have to here is they typically don't do 2 Mario Kart games on the same console. And I get that this would sort of be different because a Mario Kart 9 would sort of be the Switch's Mario Kart game, and Mario Kart 8 would sort of be the Wii U's Mario Kart game. However, with the amount of people who have bought Mario Kart 8 Deluxe on the Nintendo Switch, you're going to be targeting a bunch of people who would want to buy a second Mario Kart game in this case. There's not going to be many people who are going to be going out there and buying Mario Kart 9 who haven't bought Mario Kart 8 Deluxe at this point, just because of the sheer amount of people who have already purchased it. So maybe a major graphical style change would have to be in place, a ton of new content, a ton of new tracks, And is that all something that Nintendo really wants to do? Would they be better off just updating Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and then releasing a new Mario Kart game on a brand new Nintendo console in the future like the first possibility suggests? Well, one more idea I have for innovation relating to Mario Kart 9 that could potentially solve this problem is officially calling it Nintendo Kart. This is something that a lot of Mario fans are very apprehensive to, and I myself do have some problems with this idea. But just hear me out here. It's just a thought. I'm not saying that it's guaranteed to happen or anything like that. But what if Nintendo makes Mario Kart a full-on game representing other Nintendo franchises, many other Nintendo franchises in fact, in a similar way to how Smash Bros. Does. Mario Kart in recent entries has already been adding characters from other Nintendo franchises into it anyway, some of the bigger icons from them. So if they're going to be doing this, why don't they go all out with it and make it a game fully representative of a bunch of other Nintendo franchises, and that way there would be a bigger differential between the appeal of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe on the Switch and the appeal of Nintendo Kart. There's going to be a lot of people who maybe aren't the biggest Mario fans that go out and purchase this game and are interested in it because their favorite Nintendo franchise is represented a lot inside of it. This could be something to help grow the Mario Kart series, and could be something that could be next for Mario Kart. It's just an idea that I wanted to throw out there to maybe make you think a little bit. I think Nintendo has to do something with the release of Mario Kart Tour coming up, and if they don't, well then I think they will be leaving that game out to dry just like Super Mario Run. Let me know what you think is next for Mario Kart in the comment section down below. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. And hey, I have a video for you on the screen right now talking about 10 new features I'd like to see in Mario Kart Tour. And with that all being said, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.